I fought my sister for my inheritance, tore us apart. We were literally screaming over Mom's coffin. My sister's mascara-streaked face contorted with rage as she lunged toward me, her manicured nails digging into my forearm. I yanked myself free, my elbow knocking against the polished wood of our mother's casket. The hollow thud echoed through the suddenly silent funeral home. Aunt Caroline's hand flew to her mouth. Uncle Pete stepped forward, then froze, clearly unsure which of us to restrain first. My cousin's children huddled behind their father, wide-eyed and frightened. "You manipulative bitch," my sister hissed, her voice low but cutting through the mortified silence. "You couldn't even wait until she was in the ground." I felt 20 pairs of eyes burning into me. Family, friends, the funeral director hovering anxiously in the doorway. My cheeks burned with shame as I straightened my black dress, desperately trying to regain some semblance of dignity. How the hell did it come to this? 6 days ago, I'd lost my mother. Today, as I stared into my sister's eyes that mirrored my own, I realized I was losing her too. Growing up, Ellie and I were inseparable. Just 14 months apart, we were often mistaken for twins. We shared clothes, secrets, inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. Our tiny 2-bedroom apartment never felt cramped because we genuinely enjoyed sharing a room. Each night, after Mom tucked us in, we'd whisper stories across the darkness between our beds, crafting elaborate fantasy worlds where we were always together, always on the same side. Mom raised us on her own after Dad left when I was 4 and Ellie barely 3. She worked double shifts at the hospital, coming home with dark circles under her eyes but always finding energy to listen to our day. Money was perpetually tight. Birthdays meant one modest gift and a homemade cake. Vacations were weekend camping trips to the state park. But we never felt deprived, not really. We had each other. The first hairline fractures appeared when I got a scholarship to state while Ellie had to take out loans for community college. Nothing dramatic, just occasional comments laden with something that might have been envy. "Must be nice to have everything handed to you," she'd say, though we both knew I'd studied endlessly for that scholarship. When I moved into my first apartment, she gave me a housewarming gift with a card that read, "For when you inevitably move somewhere better." The joke fell flat, leaving an awkward tension neither of us acknowledged. Our paths diverged further in our 20s. I took a corporate job with long hours but solid benefits. Ellie bounced between creative pursuits, photography, graphic design, a brief stint managing a small gallery. When she needed help with rent, I'd transfer money without question. When she went through a devastating breakup, I took a week off work to stay with her. We were still sisters, still there for each other. Or so I thought. Mom's death was sudden. A stroke that took her in her sleep at just 62. The grief hit like a physical blow, stealing my appetite and sleep. Ellie and I moved through the funeral arrangements in a haze, leaning on each other as we picked out a casket, wrote the obituary, sorted through Mom's modest possessions. For those first few days, our adult differences dissolved in our shared loss. We were just 2 little girls again, desperately missing their mother. Then came the reading of the will. I'd assumed Mom would split everything evenly between us. Her estate wasn't large. The small house she'd managed to buy 10 years ago when her nursing supervisor position finally provided some financial breathing room, a modest retirement account, her 15-year-old Toyota. Nothing worth fighting over, I thought. Mr. Geller, Mom's attorney, adjusted his glasses as he read the document in his cramped office. "To my daughter Eleanor, I leave the sum of $45,000 from my retirement accounts and insurance policy. To my daughter Catherine, I leave my house at 1437 Maple Street, including all furnishings and personal effects contained therein." The silence that followed felt heavy, oppressive. I stared at Mr. Geller, certain he'd missed a page. The house was worth at least $280,000. Mom's retirement account and insurance combined barely totaled $100,000. This wasn't remotely equal. "There must be some mistake," I said, glancing at Ellie, whose face had gone completely blank. Mr. Geller cleared his throat. "There's a letter as well," he said, sliding an envelope across his desk. My name was written on it in Mom's familiar handwriting. What the fuck is this? Ellie's voice was dangerously quiet. Are you serious right now? Your mother was very clear about her wishes, Mr. Geller replied. Ellie's laugh was bitter, brittle. I'm sure she was, especially after all those private conversations with Catherine. What are you talking about? I asked, genuinely confused. I had no idea about any of this. Bullshit. Ellie slammed her hand on the desk. You've always been her favorite. Always the responsible one, the successful one. And now you get everything? The house we both grew up in. Ms. Brooks, please, Mr. Geller interjected. But Ellie was already grabbing her purse, already halfway to the door. Fuck you, Kate, she said, not looking back. Enjoy your inheritance. The following weeks became a blur of legal paperwork and increasingly hostile text messages. Ellie demanded I sell the house and split the proceeds. I tried explaining that I was as shocked as she was, that I needed time to process everything before making decisions about Mom's house. Her responses grew more accusatory, more venomous. You manipulated Mom on her deathbed. You always had her wrapped around your finger. You never thought I deserved anything. Neither of you did. I hope you choke on it, Kate. I really do. Our cousin's wedding 3 weeks after Mom's funeral marked the first time we saw each other face to face since the lawyer's office. Ellie arrived late, deliberately seated at the opposite end of the family table. She drank too much champagne, her laughter growing louder as the night progressed. When our aunt mentioned how nice it was that your mother's house stayed in the family, Ellie's glass hit the table with enough force that red wine sloshed over the white tablecloth. Stay in the family? She repeated, her words slightly slurred. Half the family got completely screwed. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face while gripping the sink. When I returned, Ellie had vanished. So had Mom's pearl earrings that I'd worn in her honor. Thanksgiving was worse. Christmas was unbearable. At each family gathering, people spoke to us separately, careful not to mention the inheritance or even Mom. Our extended family had clearly chosen sides. Older relatives who valued property and keeping the family home supported me. Younger cousins who understood Ellie's financial precarity stood with her. I began finding reasons to skip family events altogether. So did Ellie. Our once close-knit family splintered along the fault line that ran between us. I still hadn't sold the house. Couldn't bring myself to even list it. I'd moved in temporarily while sorting through Mom's things, then found excuses to stay. The market wasn't good. The place needed repairs before selling. The truth was, I felt closer to Mom there, and some stubborn part of me believed that if I just held on long enough, Ellie and I would find our way back to each other. Then came the day I returned home to find the front door unlocked. Nothing seemed missing at first glance, but when I entered Mom's bedroom, still untouched since her death, still containing her clothes and books and the subtle scent of her perfume, I noticed the photo wall had been disturbed. Our family photos remained intact, but every picture featuring just Mom and me had been removed. In their place were small squares of lighter-colored paint, like wounds in the wall. On Mom's bed lay the missing photos, each one methodically defaced. My face had been scratched out with something sharp in every single image. On the back of one, Ellie had written, "She was my mother too." Something broke inside me that day. The careful restraint I'd maintained, the hope for reconciliation, it shattered. I called Ellie, trembling with a rage I'd never felt before. "How could you?" I demanded when she answered. "How could you desecrate her house like this?" "Oh, I'm sorry," she replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Did I damage your property? Your precious inheritance. They're her memories, Ellie. They're all we have left of her." "No, Kate, you have everything left of her. I have $45,000 and a sister who betrayed me." "I didn't betray you. I had no idea what was in that will." "Then sell the house," she said flatly. "Prove it." I hesitated just for a second. That hesitation told us both everything we needed to know. 2 days later, we found ourselves in the funeral home again. Mom's ashes had finally been placed in the decorative urn we'd selected, and we needed to sign final paperwork. I arrived first, sitting stiffly in the same viewing room where we'd held her service. When Ellie walked in, the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. What started as cold formality deteriorated rapidly. A snippet of conversation about Mom's jewelry led to accusations of theft. My mention of the damaged photos sparked recriminations about childhood favoritism. Old resentments surfaced. Times I'd supposedly gotten my way, times Ellie felt overlooked. With each volley, we moved physically closer, voices rising, gestures growing more animated. "She knew you'd blow through any money she left you," I said, instantly regretting the words even as they left my mouth. "That's probably why she did it this way." That was the moment Ellie lunged for me, and we found ourselves grappling beside our mother's remains like animals. The moment when 29 years of sisterhood combusted in an instant. The funeral director eventually separated us. Ellie stormed out first. I followed minutes later, walking woodenly to my car, unable to meet anyone's eyes. I drove to Mom's house, my house now, and sat in the driveway for an hour, too numb to go inside. That was 3 months ago. Ellie hasn't spoken to me since. She's blocked my number, my email, my social media. According to our cousin, she's moved to Chicago for a job opportunity. She didn't leave a forwarding address. I still live in Mom's house. I've repaired the photo wall, carefully restoring the damaged pictures as best I could. Sometimes I walk through the rooms at night, remembering Ellie and me chasing each other down the hallway as children, building blanket forts in the living room, helping Mom bake cookies in the kitchen. In those moments, the inheritance feels like a cruel joke. I got the container of our childhood, but lost the only person who shared those memories. I've considered selling many times. The practical part of me knows it would be the fair thing to do. But then I sleep in my childhood bedroom and feel Mom's presence so strongly that I can't bear the thought of strangers living here. Or worse, watching bulldozers tear it down for some developer's new project. So I stay, haunting these rooms like a ghost myself. I have the house, the material security Mom wanted for me. But the hole in my life where my sister should be makes it feel like I've inherited nothing but loss. Sometimes I wonder if Mom knew what this would do to us. If she thought she was protecting me, securing my future. Or if she simply didn't realize how differently we'd interpret her final wishes. I'll never know now. The letter she left explains her reasoning. Concerns about Ellie's financial instability, her belief that I would preserve our family home, her hope that we would support each other through our grief. What it doesn't explain is how she expected us to remain sisters afterward. Perhaps she overestimated the strength of our bond. Perhaps she underestimated how grief can transform love into something unrecognizable. I keep that letter in my bedside drawer. Some nights I read it again, searching for answers between the lines. Other nights, I draft messages to Ellie that I never send. Apologies, explanations, pleas for understanding. They all sound hollow, inadequate against the weight of what's been lost. In my darker moments, I wonder if Mom's house was worth my sister. In my clearest moments, I know nothing could be.